So fun.
Repeat after me. So we're just doing swearing ceremony. I state your name.
I, Stephen Roth,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
and I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
on which I am about to enter.
Congratulations. So exciting. I'm gonna each have you sign and then you're able to carry on with members.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna pass these around. I only have one pen because I didn't plan for this.
I brought three.
Alright.
Oh, look. This is gonna be your copy in the pretty blue folder,
Okay,
and then that's gonna be my copy.
all right.
We've got Tracy over here. Oh, go.
Thank you.
And.
For me?
There you go.
Okay, good.
Yep, if you could sign both of those and then,
Here.
yes, please.
Here's
coffee.
All right, thank you.
Gosh. Thank you.
Last time I swore and somebody started yelling at me about 5 minutes afterwards.
That is- That's next on the list.
That's the next pressure.
Yeah, that's item 2.
Give me 20.
Yeah.
You're all set. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
everyone.
much, Lindsay. Really appreciate it. All right. So welcome everyone to the regular meeting of the Voter Approved Tax Oversight Committee. We'll also probably refer to as VATOC or VATOC, a little bit of a long name. It's February 15th, 2023, and the time is 5:36. First, we'll do a roll call. So please say present when I say your name. Member Bloyd. Present. Member Broadman. Present. Member Freedy.
Present.
Member McWaters.
Present.
Member Roth.
I'm present.
This meeting tonight is being recorded and streamed live to Zoom. Members of the public can provide public comment by phone by calling 669-444-9171 using the meeting ID 873-3635-8579 and pressing *9 to raise your hand for comment. Or you can comment or watch directly through Zoom using the link on the agenda and using the raise hand feature through Zoom. If you experience any technical difficulties, please email me, claire.coleman@cityofsanrafael.org. You'll have 2 minutes to provide your comments once unmuted. All the members of the public. We are offering closed captioning for this evening's meeting on Zoom. Select the live transcript button on Zoom to enable this feature. Traditionally, the committee would approve the regular meeting minutes from the prior meeting. As this is the first meeting of the VATOC, there are no minutes to approve at this time. So I would like to briefly review a little bit about the committee, given that this is the first time that you are meeting. Based on the bylaws, the role of the committee is to review the collection and expenditure of voter approved tax revenues. The committee's authority is oversight only, and focuses on reviewing expenditures to ensure that they have been expended consistent with the authorized purposes. The committee does not have budgetary authority or the ability to make service recommendations to the city council, nor the authority to direct city staff or officials. This is a Brown Act committee. As such, please ensure that you have reviewed the materials I sent you all a couple of weeks ago on what this means for you as a committee member. If you need the materials sent again, or if you have any questions, please reach out to Lindsay Lara, our city clerk, who can connect you to the appropriate resources. At this time, we will open the time for public comment on items not listed on the agenda. I will state how to do that. Should anyone arrive. To comment on Zoom, please use the raise hand feature. To comment by phone, please press *9 to raise your hand. And once you've heard the notification that the host is inviting you to speak, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Each speaker has 2 minutes to provide public comment and will be muted once time has elapsed. I'm seeing no public comment at this time. So I will close the time for public comment. Now I would like to introduce Sean Plate, our principal accountant, who will speak to the audited financials.
Thank you. So I just figure I'll go through all 4 of our voter approved taxes and then talk about and have questions afterwards. So starting off with the new one, Measure R, our quarter-cent transaction and use tax. This is a general tax. It's deposited to the general fund. So that was 4.8 million for the year, and you can see that called out if you look at our annual report on the statement of activities, right below sales and use taxes. After that, we have our Measure E, which is our 0.75% transaction and use tax, and we split that out between the legacy 0.5% that was renewed at that time and the additional 0.25% that we added, and that additional 0.25% has been directed by council to use for our essential facilities capital projects. And so what happens with that addition, that 0.25% that was 4.9 million is netted against the debt service on the 2018 bond, which was 4.2 million, and that's where you see the transfer in of 700,000 into our capital projects fund, our Measure E capital projects fund, which is detailed in one of the schedules, where we have 4.9 million in project expenditures, and we did sell a property last year for generating $1 million. So operating a fund, drawing that fund down 3.8 million. Onto cannabis, we have a special revenue fund that holds this. You'll see in the supplementary information of our annual report. Collected $550,000 in revenues against $150,000 of expenses there, ending fund balance of $968,000. Similarly, the library special assessment tax is also a special revenue fund in the supplementary information.
Yes.
Looks like someone's in the waiting room.
Oh, thank you. Oh, wrong one. Thank you, Catherine.
Anyway, 1.1 million of revenues and
Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, I didn't have-
oh,
Okay, pick it up.
all right.
Should be-
So 1.1 million of revenues to the special library special assessment fund with similar expenditures. So one thing to note in this fund, you still have legacy Measure C dollars being used for infrastructure projects that have been drawn down to 170,000 as of the year end. And that's all I have. Thank you.
So, did you want questions now or?
Yeah, so now we'll take questions from the committee, and then we'll take public comment, and then we'll take comments from the committee members. So any questions?
Sure. I mean, I've got a couple. So first, I guess on the library, you mentioned Measure C, which I guess technically we are not responsible for managing monitoring.
Right.
But there's still 170,000 left. Is the intent to spend that down to zero? And if so, when do you think that will happen? What's the expectation?
Yeah, so that money was set aside with the intent of using it for a new library facility. So there's been a long time goal of the city to either completely renovate the existing library or find a new location to build a new library. And so we've been continuing to use that money as a pool to explore that. We've used it for conceptual planning, looking at the Albert Park as a
Bobby, can you hear us now? Oh. No. Bobby, you should be able to unmute yourself now. Got it. Perfect. Thank you so much.
You asked probably when she got cut out.
Do you know when you got cut off?
I think Catherine was speaking
Okay.
still about the library fund and the legacy.
Yeah, so I can just repeat the answer that the capital C set aside was designated for a new library facility, either an expansion of the current facility or rebuilding or building a library facility elsewhere in the city. And that over the years has been spent down. I think it initially was about $500,000 and has been spent down on different conceptual design projects and exploration into funding options. And so that's kind of our intent, is to continue to use that fund for that purpose. In the next year, we will use some funding to continue exploring potential tax measures that may be able to support that scale of a project.
Okay, thanks, appreciate it. Next, and I just have a couple, three things that I made notes on when I was reading. Measure E versus measure R. Measure R is 0.25% tax, and measure E is 0.75%. So I was thinking that it would be an exact 3-to-1 ratio of revenue, and the measure E is coming in at 4.779.
That's exactly
And
right.
3 times that would be 1437
That,
versus 14,829. So there's a tiny, I mean, a small percentage, but still
Yeah.
a gap.
it's, the answer to that is just that filing's not perfect, taxpayers are filing. And there's a lot of corrections. Every time we get a remittance every month, there's corrections for back quarters. And so Measure E has been around now since 2014, I believe. And so you have corrections going back for taxpayers. And so that's why it might be a little bit higher than Measure R, where you don't have those corrections for prior taxes that were unpaid. Not everybody files on time. It's just not a perfect world. But
No,
yes,
but I would think you would file both of them at the same time, wouldn't, or not necessarily.
sure, but Measure R was only in effect for what, 1/4 of last fiscal year of the prior fiscal year. So you have money coming in from filers. from all
Some
before.
lag from the year
And
before.
I wouldn't say that everybody is filing perfectly, even when they're filing late to get their Measure R and E in.
Okay, and again, relatively small variance, but it just.
Right,
kind of jumped out.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
And the last question that I came up just reading through this, it's really just sort of background info, and I don't know who's best to answer. For Measure G, looks like you're targeting the money to go to the alternate response team. Just what is that group? Who are they? What are they? And it looks like they have maybe $500,000 a year coming their way, something like that, or a little bit more.
Yes, my name is Mike Hinkle. I'm the Director of Economic Development. So, and the cannabis program actually comes underneath my program for review. The funding that's been set aside for that, that's part of the public safety programs for the cannabis tax. The police department is working through an alternate service delivery method to really deal with some homeless issues that Center Post dealing with. So that's what that group's been established, and we just went through an RFP process and selected a service provider. It's a group out of Petaluma, and right now they're currently setting up that program initiation. We're still going through the final contract process to actually get them under contract and get them underway. But that's where that money's set aside.
Sorry for hogging the time there. If you guys have other questions, please.
Great question. Any other questions from the committee members? Seeing none, we will have another time for public comment now. To comment on Zoom, please use the raise hand feature. To comment by phone, please press *9 to raise your hand. And once you've heard the notification that the host has asked you to speak, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Each speaker has 2 minutes to provide public comment and will be muted once time has elapsed. Not seeing any public comment at this time. So now I will ask each member individually to provide any comments as you would like to do. Member Floyd. Any comments?
No comment.
All right. Member Bradman,
No comment.
member Freedy,
No additional comments, questions.
member McWaters,
No, none right now.
and member Roth.
No comments.
All right, so at this time, we provided a draft annual report for your review. Your options, as noted in the staff report, are to accept the report with any changes, or to choose to create a report in another manner. If you would like to proceed with accepting the report as is, I will accept a motion in a second for that. Otherwise, please let us know how you'd like to proceed.
I move to accept it as is.
I second that.
I'll do a roll call. Member Blood. Sorry, if you agree, please say aye, and if you disagree, please say nay. Member Brodman?
Aye.
Member Freedy?
Aye.
Member McWaters?
Aye.
Member Roth?
Aye.
All right, that motion passes 5-0. That is all for our agenda items today. So, thank you all for, oh, I'm so sorry. We skipped the most important part, which is choosing a chair and a vice chair. My mistake. I'm so sorry for that. I completely missed it. Woo, the most important thing, perhaps, well, second most. So at this time, we will open the floor for discussion. The committee will need to choose a chair who will manage the committees, the committee meetings, and then a vice chair to serve as the secondary representative.
To clarify, if I could just chime in, this, the chair would just be for 1 year, so 1-year term, vice chair as well. And ideally, it would rotate, so every year there would be a new person who would be able to take on that responsibility.
Could you give an overview of what? Could you give an overview of what the responsibilities of the chair or vice chair would be?
Yeah. So everything Claire just did outside of the technology would essentially be what you would do. Claire would still call the roll. But there would be no outside of meeting conversations that would take place. It's just managing the meeting. So if there were members of the public here, that's where it really comes into play, just making sure that there is organization to the meeting, that there's an opportunity for the public to participate, that each member of the committee is able to provide or ask any questions of staff and then provide their comments following. And then just like Claire did at the end there, where she requested a motion in a second. That would be the responsibility of the chair during the meeting. The staff liaison is still going to handle all of the agenda packet creation, scheduling the meetings, minutes, all of that's still going to be staff time. It's just managing the meeting at the time.
Can I ask a point of clarification? So you're saying from this point on, the meetings will just be our group plus you, or are we gonna still have meetings here like this in this format?
Still in this format.
Okay. All right.
Except Claire will be staff liaison and the chair would be running the meeting like she just did.
Oh, I see. Okay. And how many, there's 4 meetings a year? Is that how that's working?
So right, go ahead.
So at this time, we are planning for a mid-year meeting. We are then planning for another meeting to review the audited financials in November. So we currently are expecting to do a mid-year for library special meeting sometime in the next few months, and then another meeting in November. It is at the committee's discretion. If you would like to meet more frequently, we can absolutely do that.
Typically, when are the materials distributed to review prior to the meeting?
That's my question.
Because maybe I missed it, but I didn't really go through any of this beforehand.
Gotcha.
And so coming in, obviously prepared is important.
Yes, so all materials are published 72 hours in advance. So that's when we publish the agenda and all of the items that'll go with it.
I found the agenda online, but I didn't find the materials. Maybe I just
Okay.
missed it.
Yeah,
But is that
that's
something we
absolutely
get a link
something
for?
I can make sure that
Okay.
we send those out directly as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So we'll have 72 hours to review, come up with our comments,
Absolutely.
questions and things. Okay, got
And
it.
it's usually a little bit more than 72. It'll be like they were posted on
Friday
Friday
night.
prior, so.
72
But
business
legally
hours.
72 hours is the limit, but it's usually about 5 days.
Okay.
Especially
I
since
saw it
it's
at
a
2:00.
Wednesday meeting,
Yeah,
yes.
72 hours is a Sunday. Well,
Yeah, I thought it was. Okay.
Is there anything against talking internally as a group? If we have questions and things prior to the meeting?
Yes, so that is a violation
Okay.
of the Brown Act. So if
Alright.
you have any correspondence, email, phone, any correspondence of any kind. It must be done in a public meeting if there is a majority of members involved.
But you can direct questions to staff.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah, we can answer. It's just no more than, because you're 5 members. 3 would be considered quorum. So any conversation with 3 of you on business related to this would be considered a Brown Act violation.
Okay.
So that's just you whenever we receive an email from staff, all committee members will be BCC'd so that that we don't have any violations there.
okay, understood.
And I would just also say, just be careful with even just speaking with one other member, just if one other member talks to another member, then you're at risk of a serial violation, a serial meeting, which would be also a violation of the Brown Act. Should all be in the documents. It's, you don't need to know too much about it, but the main thing is, yeah, definitely don't talk about city business related to the oversight committee. Outside of a public setting where the community could weigh in and hear your opinions, thoughts, views.
Okay,
Don't ever call me. I nominate Chuck to be chair.